Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for English Speakers Mentors Talks. Today, we have a VIP guest for the second time. I'm really honored and happy to host Robert DILTS. Robert, thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Hi.
Hello, Fares. Yes, it's great to be back with you again.
Thank you so much. I think that last time it was 3 years ago, the COVID period, I
It
believe.
was, I think it was during the COVID period. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope that you're doing well. You're
Oh, yes.
developing a lot of new things. This is not
Yes.
your latest book. We'll talk about the latest book later. But today,
Yes.
our talk is about the power of mindset change. But let me introduce you again for my followers. Robert Dilts is an international developer coach. He's an author, trainer. He's a consultant in the fields of NLP, and he's a co-founder of NLP University in Santa Cruz. And the new thing is that we have a new book with Mike, and now you are co-founder of Mindset Maps International. This is
Yes.
your book, The Power
Yes.
of Mindset Change. Robert Dilts and Mickey Fair. I hope that I'm pronouncing well the name of
Yes.
Mickey.
Fair. You got it.
Uh, and there is something particular, a testimonial from Anthony Robbins, one of the most outstanding trainer worldwide. He
Yes.
said about this book, mindset matters. That's why Robert and Mickey's book is so eye-opening and important for anyone who wants to take their performance to another level. Instead of treating mindset as a mystery, the power of a mindset change provides a way to map the three key levels of mindset and choose the focus that's most important for achieving your goals. That's
Yes.
what Anthony Robbins said in New York Times. Uh, how it comes the idea to write this book, The Power of Mindset
Oh,
Change?
well, that's a great question. And it goes back a number of years. As you know, I've been developing a sort of whole an application area called success factor modeling. And in success factor modeling, we're looking
Yeah,
at exceptional individuals, teams, and organizations and asking this question, what's the difference that makes the difference? And ultimately, of course, it comes down to mindset. And we really thought, okay, mindset seems so crucial. Like Tony said, like Anthony said, mindset matters most. But it's really difficult. It's a kind of an abstract thing for most people, and you can't really visualize it. Well, what do you mean by mindset? You can't look inside of somebody's mind. So we thought, look, let's create a map
yeah.
that we could actually look at some of these different dimensions of mindset and mirror it back to people, so they could actually see, whoa, this is what my mindset is. And then, oh, if I want to accomplish this goal, I need to shift that mindset in certain ways. So we started, I think way back in 2014, 15, beginning to try to figure out how will we map this. And so the idea came from this notion that mindset is so important, and yet it's so intangible in certain ways. So how to make it concrete for people?
This is a philosophical, let's say, concept because when I focus on your pyramid, uh,
Yes.
I'm relating the behavior to mindset. And I was asking myself, for example, for underdeveloped countries and societies, asking myself why people are not following the change, don't want to move on, to change their habits, their traditions, to create a modern society. And I think this is why mindset matters.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, I think it kind of begins with the idea of, well, what is mindset?
Yeah,
And to me, mindset, it's our nervous system, and the things that creates, our attention, the way we focus our attention. This acts like a set of filters on the world. So we would say mindset is like a set of filters. If you
yeah.
adjust that mindset, certain things become more obvious, certain things become more in focus, certain things become, more important, others less important. And that's exactly what the mindset map is about. Is it's like helping people to know well, where is my attention right now? Is that where I should be putting my attention? And one of the things that we want to do is to kind of take it out of being something that's judgmental. It's not like there's necessarily bad mindset or good mindset. It's just that some mindsets are going to be more effective for accomplishing certain goals. And I think this is something, again, we hope that, as you were mentioning, people in developing countries can realize that the thing that makes the difference is mindset, and anybody can change their mindset. It doesn't matter, what your background is. It doesn't matter, how what kind of class you came from. It's that mindset that's going to determine, what you end up doing with your life.
And this is, I think, a huge level of maturity, because changing my mindset, it doesn't matter that I'm coming from such a special environment,
Right.
but do I need a shock to change my mindset, or to live an
You know,
experience?
yeah, that's a good question. And I just want to, one of the examples that we put in the book is of a well-known American media person, Oprah Winfrey. And
Yeah,
I don't know how Oprah Winfrey is known in other places of the world, but she was
he's
the
well
first
known. He's
she was the
famous.
first female billionaire, let alone she was the first African American female billionaire. And she was born in poverty in the southern United States.
Yeah,
Now, a woman of color who born in poverty in the south of the United States, this is not who you would expect to become a billionaire. So, how did that happen? And she was molested and was pregnant at 14, lost a child. So this is not somebody whose start in life was great. And she said something very important. She said the greatest discovery of all time is that by changing your attitude, by changing your mindset, you change your life. And so it's one of the things I do think that's important, and we really wanted to get across. Of course, it's easy for me. I'm a white, male American person. Of course, I can say, yeah, my mindset matters, but and I've had a lot of advantages. But what I really want to provide for people is that realization that you can change your life. You can make that difference. And I think this is what NLP has ultimately always been about.
I agree.
So, I think this idea that if we're able to, really get our mind right, we are able to accomplish practically anything.
Robert, we will not spoil the book, but the book is really interesting. I have my own copy. I read it in electronic version before, because I got the book today from my friend.
Okay.
Thank you so
Wow.
much. Yeah, it's not so it's not already sold in Tunisia. Well,
Okay.
unfortunately, this is why I bought it from abroad. But I want to go deeply in the book, in details.
Yeah.
You divided the mindset in three levels: a
Yes.
meta mindset,
Yes.
a macro mindset, and a micro mindset.
Yes.
Shall we go deeply a little bit
Absolutely.
in the
Absolutely,
concept?
Faraz. I
Yeah,
think I think this is key to what this whole book and what the whole approach is about, because the book is also about an online inventory that we've developed
yeah.
that has been translated now into a number of languages, including French and some others. So, I mean, French, Italian, Greek, Spanish, Japanese, Russian. And so there's these three levels. And we say that, the first level is what we call the meta mindset, which means we call it that's your big picture clarity.
Mhm.
So I have to first get my sense of where am I going? We say that's like the sunlight. And these have to do with things like what is my passion? What do I love to do? What is my vision? What is the direction that I would like to take my life? What is my mission? What is it that I'm here for? What is it that I want to do in my life? And
Yep.
then there's what we call our ambition, which is about concrete achievements. In order to actually fulfill that mission, I need to achieve things concretely. And then that leads to my role. Who am I? Who do I need to become? And Faraz, I started my own career as a
Yeah.
19-year-old nobody, in Santa Cruz, California. Uh, and I didn't have a famous father. I didn't have a rich father or parents. I mean, I started with no money in my pocket when I was 19 years old, and have become what I am today simply because I have a passion. I have a
Mm.
vision. I have a sense of mission and a lot of ambition, but that's turned into more than 30 books now. That
Yeah.
Mindset Maps book is the 30th or 31st book. And what happens is then you become more of your potential. And I know that everybody can do that. This is possible for everybody. So that's meta mindset. It's getting these big picture things in place.
One question about the meta mindset,
Yes.
because with the change, and actually we are living in VUCA
Oh,
words: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and
certainty.
ambiguity. And this is
Yes,
our word today after the COVID era. And
absolutely.
I believe that the challenge is keeping the vision and keeping focused on the vision, because a lot
Yeah.
of change, it's a little bit blurred at some time.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I mean, this is one of the distinctions that we make about vision. Which is actually, I think, very relevant.
Yeah.
Is we say there are two aspects of vision. One is destination. That is, I have a clear picture of what I want to see, what I want to be able to create. The other is direction, which means I don't necessarily know exactly what's going to look like because things are changing,
Yeah.
but I know it's going to be that way. And I think this is actually key. If you think about some of the earliest explorers and seafarers, they didn't know exactly what they were going to find, but they knew we're going to go this direction or that direction. And for me, that's also been very important in my own career. I don't always know exactly what something's going to look like in the end. And so many of the entrepreneurs, I grew up in the Silicon Valley, and so many entrepreneurs, it's that way. You don't necessarily know, well, what's the end product going to look like when I'm starting, but I know it's going to be that direction. And I think in times of uncertainty, this notion of direction is important, but it's also key that this vision is something that even in times of change, you don't give up on. One of the things I would say is that so many of the most successful entrepreneurs that I talked with
Yeah.
will say that they say, the vision never changes. Our strategy changes all the time. Every time there's new information, that changes. But the top of that pyramid, the vision, that's going to stay the same.
The
And I think
sense.
that's really important in this VUCA world.
So for you, in the timeline, we need a projection, and
Yes.
I will see myself after 5 years, 10 years, 12 years,
Yes.
or more, and then you have to be agile, changing strategy depending
Yes.
on the change
Absolutely.
happening. Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, and we've seen this, through the pandemic years. My vision certainly didn't change at all. The direction that I was going, I learned a lot and had to, I was doing a lot of new things and different things, but that's at that bottom of the pyramid. The environment changes, so my behavior has to change. But that direction that I'm taking, that stays constant. And I think that's a big part of the key to success. And then the second level is this macro mindset.
Yep.
Now, macro mindset is important because if we think about, okay, this big picture, my vision, my mission, my passion, well, in order to really sustain that and start to make that real, there's these different kinds of macro mindsets that we need. And these are what we call, these are mindsets like the energizer, right? I
Yep.
need to be able to energize myself. The persister, I need to be able to persist. We say the seeker, I need to get feedback. The scanner, I need to look for opportunities. The recharger, I need to have ways to recharge myself. And so we say that these we call these the habits of success that are going to sustain our activity towards that vision. And I can say, these are so important for anybody to succeed. And getting these, they're ongoing things that you want to do on certainly, if not a daily basis, a very regular basis, get frequent and honest feedback, scan for opportunities, acknowledge challenges, but stay the course, keep focus and energy, and have ways of recharging. So, and of course, one of the things that we do in this online inventory, by the way, is we have 49 different tools for being able to support these meta and macro mindsets, and especially if I need to adjust or strengthen or fine tune them. And I think that's another important thing.
When I read the book, Robert, I can distinguish the difference between the inventory that you built
Yes.
and the other profiling tools, disk
Yes.
and other tools. But would you
Yes.
like to explain a little bit the difference for our followers now?
Yes. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
Please.
So one of the things that we're really emphasizing, and I think it's important, is that mindset is actually fundamentally different than personality. So DISC and a lot of these other inventories, MBTI, those things, they're personality assessments. You take them once because your personality doesn't change. And then basically what you have to do is say, well, I guess I just have to adjust everything to my personality.
Mhm.
But we would say that mindset is something fundamentally different. Two people that have very different personalities can share the same mindset, right? They can share the same focus. They can have a similar vision. Doesn't mean that, oh, I can't have a vision because I don't have the right personality. Anybody can have a vision. Everybody has a role. So the first thing is that mindset maps is really looking at mindset, and we say mindset can change. This is one of the big contributions of NLP. NLP says, you are something more than your programming. You
Yep.
don't have to be trapped by your programming. And so one of the things that we say is that mindset maps is actually something that you would even take multiple times to get feedback. Am I shifting my mindset in the right direction? Do I, am I being able to make the adjustments that I need to in order to accomplish the goal that I am, really wanting to get to right now? So I think that that's very important. That again, mindset is something fundamentally different from, personality.
I see.
Mm.
Let's have a look to some comments. We
Yep.
have Shaima. Yes,
Maybe I should just
go
do
ahead.
micro mindset first, if that's okay, because
Yeah,
I
of
think that
course. Go
will
ahead,
help. So we
please.
have meta mindset, which is big picture clarity, macro mindset, which is habits of success, and then the micro mindset, or is what we call your current priorities. And what you want to do there is this has to do with very specific things. There are things like market maker. You might think of these as different hats. So, if I've started many businesses, I have a number of successful businesses,
Mhm.
and sometimes I'm being the product creator. So I've got to create the product. Then I got to put on the market maker hat. How am I going to generate interest and revenue? But usually to do anything successfully, we have to have a team. So I've also got to put on my team maker mindset and then my competence builder mindset, because I've got to make sure that team has the competences. But other times I need to get resources it could be investment of some kind, but it could also just be support that I need. For example, in that book, somebody like Anthony Robbins, he's supporting both as an investor and also as a board, as somebody who's um, giving us support. So you
Mhm.
got to, like, we call that the finance sorcerer, somebody who's like getting that support. Then there's the venture builder mindset. We took our mindset maps and now we have it in 7 or 8 different countries on, 3 different continents. And it's going to be 4 different continents very soon. So that's growing it. And then what we call the matchmaker, which is looking for partnerships, and the resourcer, which is about leveraging resources. So these are all specific ways of looking at things to really build a successful venture. And maybe the last thing before we do questions so I think this will also be very relevant, is that the whole notion of mindset map is that it's, as I said, it's not like there's a good mindset or a bad mindset. There are many mindsets and many combinations of meta, macro, and micro. The key is, what's my goal? If my goal is to have more satisfaction in what I'm doing, that's going to take a particular mindset. If my goal is to become profitable, that's a different mindset. If my goal is to make a meaningful contribution, that's another mindset. If my goal is to be innovative and resilient, that's going to be another mindset. And if my goal is to grow, then and scale the venture, that's another mindset. So the whole idea of mindset map is based on the outcome that you're trying to achieve. You're going to need a different combination of this meta, macro, micro in order to bring your focus and your filters to the right place. So I think we like to say that the mindset maps is essentially like a GPS for the mind. You put in, here's where I want to go. It's going to assess, well, where are you now? And here's the way you're going to go to get there. Here's what you've got to change. Here's what you've got to do. So I think that's maybe an important thing as we go into questions, is that it is intended to be a system that says, here's your current mindset. Here's the ideal mindset for the goal that you have. These are the things that you're going to want to adjust. Here's the set of tools that you can do that with. And I think, as you know, there's also a team report, which I think is very interesting, where you can look at the collective mindset of a group. So I think those are some of the key aspects of what that the mindset map is about. So yes, let's go to questions.
Yeah, I'll be back to the inventory later. I have few comments. We have our friend Marwan who said, hello, real idol for our NLP community in Tunisia and a source of inspiration. Thank you, Marwan. I have another follower, Qais Budaya, said, mindset change and Bushido. Bushido is the 7 values of samurai. Qais is practicing the kendo, which is the way of the sword. And
Yes.
the samurai mindset also is actually used in enterprises, companies, to develop the performance. Do you have any
Yes.
comment about a relationship mindset and Bushido?
Yes. Well, we have our Japanese partner, and so
Yeah.
we've been doing a lot of. We actually were just in November finishing a Mindset Maps coach training. So I think this is maybe something maybe relevant to say.
Yeah.
That one of the things that Mickey and I have developed is a training for coaches to use this inventory and to use the mindset map with their clients. And obviously then in Japan, I think the Bushido is it certainly is a set of principles. I think again, maybe there is definitely an interaction. A little bit of the difference is that because we're identifying a number of different combinations of mindset, the whole key, I think, whether the similar is mindset is essentially performance oriented. Like, so it's not personality oriented, it's performance oriented. It says, if I want to achieve this goal, there are going to be certain mindsets that are going to be more likely to create that than others. So, and I think this is this notion to me of what kind of the metaphor of samurai. I've got to be very clear and very
The strike, the
precise
cut.
about where I want to go. But that means I have to know where I want to go. And that's another key part of the mindset map is, what is we call it your meta goal. What is your current priority?
I totally agree. I will show just this framework in the
Yes.
book. Yeah. There is a kind of a circle for success, and we have a lot of different posture, let's say, or different mindset. And my question is, we have the persisters, the scanners that we told us about it during the interview, the recharger, the seeker. Am I obliged to gather all these qualities to have a good mindset?
Yeah. So again, this is actually a really interesting question, because we have two ways that we use the mindset map. One
Mm.
is what we call a premium report, and what the premium report does is it kind of it gathers the information from you, and then it says, what are you trying to do right now? What's the most important thing? Are you trying to grow your business? Are you trying to make a new product? Are you trying to build the market? Are you trying to become profitable? Are you dealing with challenges and having to innovate? And then it will say, based on what you want to do, here is going to be the most appropriate mindset for you in order to achieve that goal. So, make sure, and it does a kind of a gap analysis. Here's your current mindset. This is what you need to shift. That's one way. Another way that we use it, we're developing what we call a general mindset health scan.
Mhm.
So it looks at the mindset and it says, oh, okay, let's say, for example, Faraz, let's say somebody has a lot of passion. We go, great, that's good to have a lot of passion. But maybe we look at the macro mindset and we see, oh, yeah, but I don't have many ways of recharging myself.
Yeah.
Guess what's going to happen? If you don't recharge and you have a lot of passion, you will probably burn out, right? Or let's say you don't have a lot of focus. Well, I got a lot of passion, but not a lot of focus. Guess what's going to happen? I'm going to start to,
Mm-mm.
put it in all the wrong places. So one of the things that we're doing is we're saying, okay, of course, you want to be able to do all of these things, but depending upon where your strengths are, you need to be able to support those strengths. So we have, here's the strengths, here's the areas for improvement. And obviously, if I want to be, sustainably successful, I'm in some way going to need to have all of those macro mindsets in place. I'm going to need to be able to recharge. I'm going to need to be able to bring energy and focus. I'm going to need to be able to seek opportunities. I'm going to need to be able to, or scan opportunities, seek feedback, and I'm going to need to be able to persist no matter what. But some of those will be more important in certain times. And I think that's the part of the key to the notion of mindset map.
Great. We have a question from Selim. Hello, does mindset change for same goal? Does it depend from culture, career, background, success story?
Yeah, I think this is a good question. And what this is part of what we have been noticing and tracking and working with now that we have our mindset map with partners, all over the world and many very different cultures. And what I would say is that, the key is that it's goal oriented and performance oriented. And, you could say, I mean, in certain ways, yes, of course, culture is an influence. Personality is an influence. Background is an influence. I mean, if I'm taking somebody like, an Oprah Winfrey. She came from a certain background, a certain culture, a certain story. But, she said something very interesting. She says that, actually, she said a couple of things. She said, the best way to succeed is to find what you love, figure out how to put that in service of others, you know, work hard and this was key, she said, and let the energy of the universe guide you. Now,
Mhm.
in some ways, I think that's going to be true no matter where you're born, no matter where you come from, no matter what your personality is. You know, find what you love, put it in service of others, be willing to work, but also, and I think this is a key thing that's a little bit tricky for a lot of people, is this notion of connecting to something beyond yourself. And
Yeah.
this to me is a lot of where this notion of, it's kind of the top of the pyramid there. It's about sense of purpose. Um, because a lot of times we just get stuck in, forcing, doing. And she said something, other thing she said that was very, very powerful. She said, you don't become what you want, you become what you believe. You don't become what you want, you become what you believe. And I think this is another key thing. And I think belief then is something that transcends culture, career background, etc. Um, so again, I would say that mindset is something that transcends all of those things. And you'll find the way. If you have the right mindset, you'll find the way. I travel the world. I was just a couple of weeks ago in China. I'm here in France. I'll be in Italy next week. I mean, I go all around, and I know that these key success factors are not culture bound. They're
Mm.
not, background bound or personality bound. And this is why I'm so, what I say, very enthusiastic about it. I know that any of us can actually achieve what we want if we bring the right mindset.
Don't you be afraid that people relate mindset to spirituality?
Why not? I mean, spirituality is there's no I don't have any problem with spirituality.
Yeah, I know.
Spirituality just means I realize that I'm part of something bigger than myself.
Mm.
So why not? I mean, I my you know we say a big part of what we work with in success factor modeling and in the mindset map is this dynamic between what we call ego and soul.
Yeah.
And by ego, I don't mean Freud, and by soul or spirituality, I don't mean religion. What we mean is by ego is I am an independent, individual, unique individual, creative thinking individual. That's part of my reality. Each one of us is a unique individual.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm also part of something bigger than myself. I'm part of a family. I'm part of a community. I'm part of a profession. I'm part of a culture. I'm part of a global environment. And we need to be able to balance both of these things. If you're too ego oriented, it just means it's all about me. It's only me. It's all me. Everything's on my shoulders. I have to do it all. That is a recipe for, burnout. The other side is, I'm all one with everything. It's all, great. God will guide me or whatever. Yet, if you're only that, it's going to also be a lot of trouble. We are both. And I think it's this dynamic, this balance that is so key. Everybody in the world is an individual, and everybody in the world is part of something bigger than themselves that they contribute to and that also supports them. And we've got to be able to, integrate both of those realities. So I don't have any problem with spirituality. I think what happens is that you begin to connect spirituality with particular belief systems. And then belief systems can come into conflict. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of belief systems that come into conflict, but spirituality is not a belief system. Spirituality is the experience. It's the realization that I am part of something bigger than me. So at least that's my view.
Good. Nizar said, thanks first for this interesting opportunity. The mindset depend on the goal, but also on the context. What do you think about that, Robert?
Well, I mean, I think obviously context is extremely relevant. But goal, I mean, I think it depends on the goal. I think that if you have a good mindset is going to be able to operate regardless of the context. So to give an example, I have a certain mindset where I have my meta mindset, where I have my vision, my passion, my mission. For me, that is not context dependent. That doesn't change with context. I mean, what my passion is doesn't change. Well, okay, I have a different passion today just because this happened. No,
Mm-mm.
that is something that is, again, that's what characterizes mindset. I have the same vision regardless of the context. I'm going to be, this is the whole notion. I'm going to be persisting to that vision. I don't care about the context. Yes, pandemic, no pandemic. This is, situation, that situation. So especially, let's put it this way, especially meta mindset is something that I think transcends context. Now, and I also believe that macro mindset, having ways to recharge myself, having ways to keep energy and focus, that's about me. That's not about my context. Now, maybe you're going to have, context is going to influence the micro mindsets. But mindset is something that it's you set it regardless of the context, and you set it because that's the goal that I want to achieve. I'm not going to change that based on the context. And I think that's what we see with really successful people. I'm not just kind of blowing with the wind. Oh, the context changed, so I
Mhm.
guess I can't do that. I'm keeping that focus. I'm keeping that sense of passion no matter what.
Due to your book, I learned a new word. I know entrepreneurship, but I don't know
Entrepreneurship, yes.
intrapreneurship.
Yes.
Yes, what's intrapreneurship? Something
So,
great.
we mostly tend to think of an entrepreneur as somebody who is starting their own business or they're starting their own venture. And of course, they need to have a passion for what they're doing. They need to have a vision. But there are people, the idea of an intrapreneur is it's somebody, I'm working in a bigger company. I'm working for somebody else. It's not my company. But I can have an entrepreneurial attitude. I can say, even though this is not my business, I want to be able to bring my passion here. One of the things that's so important, and we really want to emphasize this when we talk about passion, passion is not just something that is triggered from outside of me. Passion is something that's inside of me that I can bring to whatever I do. And I think that's the first part of entrepreneurship. So, meaning that let's say somebody could say, oh, well, I have a passion for riding horses, so I guess
Yeah.
if I'm not riding horses, I have no passion. That's not what it is. We would say, what do you love about riding horses? Oh, a feeling of freedom. Great. That's your passion, feeling of freedom. You can bring that feeling to whatever you do. So an idea of an entrepreneur is it's
Sorry.
somebody who's working inside of a business, could be inside of a big company, but they have the mindset of an entrepreneur. They're bringing their passion to it. They have a vision for what they want to do. They have a sense of mission. And we say that's kind of like, it's like the secret weapon of a successful business. You look at something like, my Apple computer it's not Apple Computer anymore. It was Apple Computer when it was my first client in 1980.
Mm.
And what you realize is that there's a lot of people in that organization that don't just sit there waiting to take orders from a boss, right? They have a passion, they have a vision, they have ideas that they're trying to put into place. So this is the idea of an entrepreneur. I can bring that to whatever I'm doing, wherever I am.
Uh, when we talk about Apple, which is a mindset also, we
Yes,
know that Steve Jobs had two eras. Uh, um,
yes,
a, a bad management era before quitting the company, and then the comeback with all the new inventions, iPhone, iPad,
yeah,
MacBook,
yeah,
etc. I believe that having this entrepreneurship mindset, even we are an employee in a company, we
yes,
need a space provided from the leader
yes,
to get this
yeah,
mindset.
yes. This is what we call, so that we say there's three types of leadership. Interestingly, there's micro, macro, and meta leadership.
Yeah.
What is meta leadership? Meta leadership is leading other leaders.
Yep.
So it means I'm so let's start with micro leadership is, okay, we have a task, there's a relationship. I'm gonna, I'm supporting people to get something done. Macro leadership is not so much about the task, it's about the path.
Mm.
It's about path building, path finding. What's that path that we're on? Meta leadership is we're leading other leaders. And so, I think this is, and I've written 3 different books on leadership now: visionary leadership, alpha leadership, and conscious leadership.
And the hero's
And
journey also is something about
yeah,
leadership.
hero's journey has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
But what leaders will say, I've always asked them, who are the most difficult people to lead? And usually I get 2 answers. One answer is followers, because you can't lead followers. You can kind of herd them like sheep, they're
Yeah.
natural followers. But they say the other difficult group is natural leaders, but they're the most rewarding. So this, I think, is where you are helping other people to find their passion, find their vision, and then directing that vision. So Yeah, so I think that it's absolutely a special kind of leadership, and it's one of the things that we're also we're actually having we're developing another inventory right now. So we have the basic one, we have what I was calling the general health scan, and we have what we call the leadership behavior inventory. And that's going to be one where we're looking at what kind of leadership is necessary to reach what kind of goals.
Yeah. We have an HR manager, Nabil, who
Ah,
asked, is it our behavior that changed our mindset, or the mindset that changed our behavior?
it's
You are
absolutely
the
the
right
mindset.
person to answer the
Yes,
question.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely the mindset that changes the behavior. That's where we say mindset matters most, because
Mm.
if the metaphor I like to use is that if I have my tablet or my smartphone or my laptop and I
Yep.
want it to do something differently, what do I have to do? I have to change the app. I have to change the software. It's not going to act differently if I just keep running the same program. It's exactly the same thing with human beings. If you're going to change behavior, you've got to change mindset. If you keep the same mindset, you're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So
Yeah.
so it's absolutely goes that way. We say it's mindset is what creates our actions, and our actions are what produce outcomes. So if I want to reach this outcome, of course I'm going to have to do something differently, but to do something differently, I'm going to have to think differently.
Shaima told us that you said that there are 49 tools to change mindset. I want to know if they are divided to meta, micro, and micro ones.
Absolutely. They are divided into meta, macro, micro. Also, the way that the inventory works is that the big part of it, first part of it is that you have a series of statements like, I know what my passion is, I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, and you rate that from like 1 to 10. Or I'm really clear about where I'm trying to go with my vision, 1 to 10. So it's your first, that's part of what's helping to make the map, is that you're sort of rating these statements. And same thing, with macro. I have habits in place. I have ongoing habits where, or activities where I'm recharging myself. I take time to recharge, 1 to 10. So now what happens then is, of course, we're looking at, mindset is not binary. It's not either I have passion or no passion. There's many, there's this 1 to 10 gradation. So what the tools will do is they say, okay, if I'm, above 7 out of 10, I probably am doing pretty well. You don't have to be perfect in order to achieve. Um, but if, let's say, I'm between 5 and 7, I've got an improvement to make. If I'm below 5, I'm kind of in a lot of trouble. So the tools are actually organized to support you depending upon which part of the mindset and what is the level of rating. So again, you might have a more um, let's say a stronger tool, or a more powerful tool if it's really low than if it's kind of already at 7, 6 or 7. So that's one of the things we do. Another thing that I think is really interesting, especially for the micro mindset, this idea of, am I a product creator? Am I a market maker? Am I a team maker? Because these are how we build that, what you were calling that circle of success, Faraz.
Yeah.
So that circle of success means I've got a big part of my attention has to go to my customers. I've got to create a product for them. I've got to, have connections with them. I've got to generate interest with them, and of course revenue. But I've also got to put time with my team. So that's, and some people are really good with their products. You were talking about Steve Jobs earlier.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, in his first incarnation at Apple, he was always a good. Steve Jobs was always, we say, he was a genius at product creating and at market making.
Yeah.
From the first time to the second time, that's his genius. No question. He was pretty good at team building. He was not kicked out of Apple because the people in his teams complained, even though people said he was difficult to work with. They said, he could create what they called a reality distortion field that made you feel like you could do anything. Where he had problems was with the
The board.
the board, what we were calling the stakeholders. So you
Yeah,
have your
stakeholders.
customers, your team members, your stakeholders, your partners. So he had problems there. And so that's why we say you're going to have, we have different levels of, we rate these different levels. You can have a genius and excellence. You can have a competence, or we say if it's not a competence, maybe it's a hobby or even
Mm.
a weakness. So one of the things the mindset map's going to do, it's going to let you know, hey, you're a genius at product creating, but you're kind of, don't have enough competence at team making. So you're going to have predictable problems. So you're either going to have to improve your mindset there, or you're going to have to bring in somebody else. Now, Steve Jobs, he brought in John Scully, he was
Mm.
CEO of Pepsi, because
Yeah.
he thought, oh, he's going to be a great market maker. But it didn't work out. So they got into a lot of conflict.
Mindset didn't match.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, so just so you know, Faraz, my brother Michael was working at Apple during the time that Steve Jobs was kicked out. And when he came back,
Mm.
he said, there was no question that Steve Jobs saved that company. They were maybe 3 months from going bankrupt. Steve Jobs came in, and now they became the first, $3 trillion company ever. So
Yeah.
what did he do? What was the difference? It was, he brought this mindset back. And I think this is just so key to realize,
And this is the big challenge, because bringing the mindset and anchoring the mindset in the team, this is a big
yes,
challenge for a leader. The
yes,
the problem is that Steve Jobs, we are talking about this example. We have another example similar to Steve Jobs, with Elon Musk, actually difficult to
yes,
work, the new Steve Jobs of the Silicon Valley,
yeah,
etc. Uh, the problem is how to influence the team to follow the mindset and to be contagious.
yes. So this is, the in the work that I've done on leadership, we say that the 4 basic things that a leader has to do is first to express the vision.
Mm.
So first of all, maybe just to take one step back. Lead and leader is one of these few English words that actually comes from English, and not Latin or Greek or some other German or something.
Yep.
And lead in English, Old English, doesn't mean control. It doesn't mean boss. It doesn't mean power. It simply means to go.
Showing the path. Yeah.
And to go, you
Go.
have to do 2 things, right? You have to have a direction. You don't necessarily have to know where you're going to end up, but you do
Mm.
have to have a direction. The second thing you need, energy. No energy, no go, right? So the
Yeah.
leader has to express the vision. Then they have to inspire others to action. They have to bring energy. Third, they have to encourage team cooperation. And fourth, be the example. And I think the best leaders they're not bosses, they're not commanders. They don't just sit around and tell other people what to do. And again, for all of his faults, as many faults, people like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, they are basically, they lead by example, and they are vision driven, and they are inspirational, again, for all of their faults. So I think this notion of you've got to feel that passion inside of you as the leader. You've got to remember, Steve Jobs said, he said when he was first making the Macintosh, he said, I could see it like sitting on the table. And he said, I realized I had to do 2 things. I had to get the rest of the team to be able to see it as clearly as I did, and 2, to be as excited about it as I was. And I think this notion of direction and energy, a path and energy. And so I think that's what you'll see that good leaders do. Again, even though they're going to have a lot of faults. If you
Uh,
can do that, you're gonna make something,
yeah. I
meaningful.
think I think Sonia got the answer. He asked the same question: how leaders can overcome resistance to change in their teams, influencing them to
Yes.
change their mindset.
So that is a little bit different, the question. So let me address that. So number one is that resistance to change is something that we have to recognize, that good leaders know that it's natural. In fact, I remember interviewing one entrepreneur where he said, if I said to my team, this is what we're going to do, and everybody went, okay, great. He said, I know the vision isn't big enough. It's because if everybody thinks, oh, it's just within our comfort zone, then you're not doing anything, unique. So you're going to have resistance. I mean, think about it. If you want to grow and it's if you just go, oh yeah, this is easy, you're not growing. You're just
Yeah.
basically staying within your comfort zone. So the nature of growth is pushing the edge of the envelope, pushing that edge. So if you don't have resistance, your vision is not good enough. I will tell you that. It's not big enough. So that's natural. But what we would say in NLP is that resistance then has a positive intention. And what you want to do is first acknowledge that. Now, then one of the main things, and it's big key to mindset, and it has to do, as far as with the pyramid, is
Yeah.
about belief. It's about belief. Usually people are going to, if they resist, it's because there's some belief they don't have. They either believe it's not important, it's not possible, right? This is what we're doing isn't going to get there, even if it's possible. We're not capable, or we're not good enough. We don't deserve it. So I, would say these are and our tools will work with that. Which of these beliefs do you need to work with? How do you assess those beliefs with your team? And then then there's different ways of saying, okay, how do we help somebody know that this is important, that it's possible? And one of the keys there is realizing that this is where, role modeling comes in. This is why they said Steve Jobs, again, for all of his many faults, he had this ability to create what they call a reality distortion field, to make you feel like you could do anything, like this is amazing. We can do this. And I think that's, again, another characteristic of good leaders, is acknowledging the doubts, acknowledging the resistance, and then connecting into the belief. We call it the belief bridge. What's going to get you across that resistance?
Great. They are summarizing your proposals.
Yes.
Yusra said, express the vision, inspire other to action, incite team to collaborate, and lead by example. That's what you've said. I'll be back to energy. You know
Yes.
what? I lived a few weeks ago an experience. We try to do our best to transfer energy to others, to inspire them, and then we can have a lot of challenges,
Yes. Yes.
illnesses, diseases. We have a lot of challenges, and we need to think, to slow down, and to think like we are not God.
Yes.
So the
Oh,
problem is at that time, Robert,
yeah.
the team can fall down because
Yes.
you are maintaining the energy, but
Yeah.
you lost your own energy.
So, Francis, this is such an important question. This is such an important issue. That energy is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because we tend to think energy means yeah, 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 go, 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 go.
Yeah,
But
performance.
energy can be energy, the deep
Smooth.
energy. It can flow. It doesn't have to always, zap and sparkle. So this is one of the key things, energy energy has different forms. And
Mm.
sometimes energy is just, you can have deep, calm energy. If you take somebody like, I don't know, Buddha,
Mm.
it's just boom, nothing will shake it. So it's there. So qualities of energy, I think this is important. And this is also what mindset does. It directs energy. Because if I'm just always going, I'll give you an example. I'm a runner. I'm not a professional runner, but I run every day. I run 80 minutes at least every day.
Good.
And so I'm always interested, like, the Olympics are coming up here in Paris in a few months. And, so you'll have, like, you'll see the racers. And remember, there's this guy who for a number of years was the fastest man in the world. His name was Usain Bolt, which is a great name, like a bolt of lightning, Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
And remember, he was like running faster than everybody else. And they were asking him, okay, what are you thinking? How are you getting ready for this race? And he was, what he was saying? He's going, I was just trying to relax. And you're going, wait a minute, you're going to try to run faster than anybody else in the world and you're relaxing. What? That doesn't make any sense. But it does, because it's like if I'm going, I'm going to lose all that energy. So this is that notion of I'm going to be, I got to be able to just direct that. And actually, if you watch this guy run, you see all these other guys are going, and he's just like, so energy is an important thing. And we have to realize that energy comes in different forms. And sometimes I know in my own self, my energy goes very, very deep. It's still just as much energy. It's just not in the same way. So I think, and again, I think this is also a key to mindset.
Time is running. Thank you so
Yes.
much for everything. Nuhat said, I'm working with a team of volunteers. That's another mindset. And
Yes.
I'm always questioning myself about attracting them, but how to keep them motivated to make an impact. As a
Yeah.
leader, how can I inspire them? It's really challenging. Any advice?
So there was already a very key word in there, which is inspiring them to make an impact.
Yeah.
Volunteers are people why are they volunteering? They're volunteering precisely because they want to make an impact. I'll give you, there's an interesting, just a quick piece of research that was done by a guy named Adam Grant. And it was a book, he wrote a book called Give and Take. And so he's working with people who were volunteering, for example. Actually, I don't even think they were volunteering. There's people who were working to try to raise money for a university. And so what they found was they said, okay, we want to try to increase their performance. So first group, they did the typical thing where they gave them a communication training. And then they promised them, if you get more, we'll pay you, you'll get a bonus, so typical rewards. Second one, they said they brought in people who had been in that job before and who said it was a difficult job, but I benefited from it. I learned a lot from it. The third group, they brought in, they didn't bring in people. They brought in people that had benefited from the money that they had brought in. That said that this changed my life. That we got this scholarship. And then they tracked them. And what they found was the ones who got a bonus sort of, they kind of did a little bit more work for a while and they went, kind of went back to, losing interest. The second group lasted a little longer because they thought I might get something out of it. The third group spent 75% more time and raised twice as much money because they were doing it to make an impact. And I think this is something key that especially people who are volunteers, but everybody wants to know what I am doing makes a difference. Not just I'm doing something boring and getting paid for it. What I'm doing makes a difference. So my advice would be anything you can do to show them what you're doing, it makes a difference, not even just to this team, but to something bigger than the team. That's what I'm calling, sort of there's the ego and there's the soul. And the soul has much, much, much more power ultimately and motivation than the ego.
Great. We'll close with two questions. Zuhair said, it's certainly helpful to tell people that they need to integrate the right mindset in order to achieve the specific goal. But for most people, the most challenge may be often how to figure out what is blocking them to move on and install the right mindset. How can you help them?
Yes, that's a big part of. So that's a big part of. It's obviously. We could do another hour just on that.
Yeah,
But
of course.
this is why we have mindset coaches, because mindset map inventory is and even the tools. If you do it by yourself, you're going to have your typical blind spots. So what you need there is a coach, and the coach is going to be able to help you find what we call those belief barriers, typically, that are inside, that inner critic or inner resistance, and transform it. And that's what, again, there's the tools to help with that. But I think this is where a coach becomes really important.
Last question. We can say commitment is more important than energy, Shaima said. What do you think?
I have a different view because I like what, Warren Buffett, who's always one of the wealthiest men in the world, who makes his money by investing in other people. He said, if you have no passion, you have no energy. If you have no energy, you have nothing. So if I have all the commitment in the world and no energy, nothing's going to happen. I hate to say it, but I can be committed, but if I have no energy, what am I going to do? Nothing. So I'm afraid I don't agree with that. I mean, commitment is important, but if you don't have the energy to follow through, it doesn't mean anything.
Robert, I wanna say thank you so much for accepting my invitation second time. I hope to meet you soon in person, because this is the
Yes.
second time that we meet online. Thank you for
Yeah.
accepting my invitation. Thank you for your humility and your availability to answer all the questions of people
That's
following us. What
my
would you like to
pleasure. I
say?
love
The
it.
floor is yours.
So when maybe the next time we actually, my most recent book, that's even after
Yeah.
Power of Mindset Change, is Sleight of Mouth, which is about the magic of language. Maybe we can have another interview about that.
I'm yours. I'm yours.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Thank
want
you.
to remind all
Yeah.
followers that we have a new book, The Power of Mindset Change. I already booked this from Amazon, but it's already also you can have it on your tablet or as an
Yeah.
ebook version,
Yeah.
and hope that all the libraries here will bring it for coaches, trainers, and managers. The stage is yours. Thank you so much. What would you like to say to Tunisians, to people
I think
from
just
Maghreb? And I hope to see you here delivering
yeah.
training in Tunisia.
Yeah. I do get to Morocco, so I should be able to get to Tunisia at some point. I think my final statement, just to all my Tunisian listeners and anybody in the Maghreb who's
Yeah.
listening, is the reason that I say mindset matters is because you know that's how we're going to change the world together. I've always said that my deepest mission is to create a world to which people want to belong, to help create a world to which people want to belong. And what that means is it's a world in which they can thrive, but also to which they can contribute. And this is why I do what I do. This is what all these books that I've written are about, and all the seminars that I do. And I know that for those of us that have that same vision, let's keep going. And you're one of them, Faris. So
Thank you
appreciate
so much. Thank you so much. We will have another talk about your new book
it. Okay.
soon, I hope, and enjoy your stay in Paris. Thank you for accepting my invitation again. You can also, if you missed the live, you can have it on my YouTube channel soon. And Robert also can answer maybe questions on Facebook, because a lot of questions are coming, but time is up, unfortunately. Thank you
So,
so much. Have a good week
okay. Bye,
and see
everybody.
you soon. Bye
See you
bye.
soon. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.